session. We're very both sad that it's over, but very excited because we have a very interesting and diverse 2 hours ahead of us. We're going to start for the first half an hour with a panel with experts from Israel and Germany talking about next steps for scientists and entrepreneurs like yourself of how you can continue growing these ideas that you've been working on in Israel and Germany. That'll be for half an hour. And then we have the big brain date. There's going to be joining 8 experts. We're going to split all the teams into individual breakout rooms, and you're going to pitch your ideas that you've been working on to the experts in 2 rounds. And this is a fantastic opportunity for one-on-one feedback and really meet with experts in your individual field and hear initial feedback on your ideas. And then we're going to come back and have a last 20-minute summary with the Huji Innovation Team, a bit with EIT, and kind of conclude our beautiful process that we've been going through. So without further ado, I'm going to let Andrea present, and she'll be moderating the panel. So Andrea, you can take it away.
Okay, thank you, Yoni. So again, a warm welcome from my side. I'm very happy that we have our 3 special guests here today for our panel discussion. It's Neta Gruber from the Israeli Innovation Authority, Barbara Diehl, who is now working at the so-called Agency for Strong Innovation in Germany, which is going to tell us more about it in a second. And I'm also very happy to welcome Mrs. Caroline Silva-Garbade from our Ministry of Economy in Germany. And I think we should just start with a quick introduction round. Maybe each of you just says in which division you work in the ministries and what exactly you do. Neta, would you like to start?
Sure. Thank you, and nice to meet all of you. Hopefully one day we'll be able to meet in person. Until then, my name is, as you said, Neta Gruber. I'm Europe Desk Director at the Israel Innovation Authority. Generally speaking, what it means is that I am in charge of creating opportunities which bring value both to Israeli companies and to a variety of partners in Europe, with focus on R&D and piloting on a variety of sectors. I can get into a lot more details, but maybe later on.
Who's next, Barbara?
All right, yeah. So hi, I'm Barbara, and I think we can all, I think let's stick to first name basis. I think it makes things a lot easier, if that's all right with everyone. So hi, I'm Barbara. Nice to meet all of you, and yeah, it's a special. It's very special to be here. So thank you very much, Andrea, for facilitating that. Mostly so because I have a Helmholtz past. I joined the Federal Agency for Disruptive Innovation in December last year. And for all of you who don't know SPRIN-D yet, it's the latest and hottest kid on the innovation block in Germany. And we're looking for exciting ideas and people who are really motivated to bring their technologies to market and to really create a better future for all of us living in this world with the exciting technologies and inventions that are happening in the research environment, and especially in Helmholtz. So come on, guys.
Thank you, Barbara. Caroline Silva-Garbade.
Hello, my name is Caroline. I'm in charge of startup policy in the German Economic Ministry, and I can just highly urge you to set up your business in Germany, because we have many, many interesting support schemes, apart from, as Barbara said, the hottest, what was it? I liked it. The hottest spot on the block. Which
kid
is
on
totally
the block.
True.
Latest and hottest kid on the block.
Yeah, the hottest kid on the block, which is totally true, Barbara. I totally agree with you. We have a great ecosystem for startups where I, together with a colleague, also have the so-called Hub initiative, which kind of forms part of a landing environment for startups and connects them with research institutions, SMEs and corporates. We have an Israeli-German connection because we have a program done by ELNet, European Leaders Network, that connects Israeli startups with Germany. And last but not least, we have quite a bit of money putting up some more funds in the future. One of the most important maybe for this audience is our program Exist, that fosters and supports setting up business out of university. So we have a lot of things to offer, and whenever you have any questions, you can always direct them to me.
Well, it seems to we have like 3 hot kids on the block here. So let's just dive a little bit into the different ecosystems. So whenever I've been bringing delegations over from Germany to Israel and we visit the Israeli Innovation Authority, everybody's really impressed with, the criteria and how, it's all about risk taking. We learned a lot about this now in the workshop about the chutzpah. And I think there's also, I'm seeing a big difference obviously between both countries in this respect. So let's just dive a little bit into each ecosystem and if you could just describe like how you would see the different programs, what you think is unique about it and where you maybe see challenges and also where you think which things could be improved. So Barbara, would you like to start?
Yeah, and I mean, I know that this whole debate about risk and taking risks or not taking risk and fear of failure and so forth is always something that permeates the debate around startups quite heavily. But I also think that if you're not looking at it in the categories of risk taking rather than what is the motivation of the individual person, and I think yes, for everything related to transfer and translation. From research into application. Yes, it carries a certain amount of risk because it forces people to step out of their comfort zones, right? And it forces them into different circles and different areas where they probably don't yet understand the rules. But I firmly believe that all of these things can be learned. And I also think that this whole discussion around, this risk taking, it always conjures the image of, yes, you have to be the type of personality that jumps out of an airplane without a parachute. But that is not actually true, right? I mean, what you have to do is you have to take risks, but you can take them in a very calculated manner. And I think if you're carried by this motivation to say, okay, I don't know how this will work yet, but I'm gonna figure it out because I'm smart enough and I have the motivation to do it, then I think a lot of this risk can be mitigated.
Neta, Caroline, would you like to add something?
Yeah, if I may add. So I definitely agree with you. And I think one of our challenges at the Israel Innovation Authority, what our main tool is funding. And one of our challenges is to find the right balance between, on the one hand, we are a public authority, right? So the money that we provide to startups is paid for with the the taxpayers' money, and we don't take that lightly. So we always need to think how to best invest that money in order to provide real support to startups in a way that would actually create growth. And then there's always this balance between you want to share the risk, but you also don't want to make it so that the startup is dependent on this sort of funding. And for this reason, we have this policy where we always provide sort of grants on a matching basis. And so on the one hand, if you're looking to, from a very early stage, if you're looking to create a startup and you're looking for investment, you can reach out to us and ask for funding, but at the same time would always encourage you and actually make sure that you are also aware to able to secure funds from other resources. And that way you kind of get this sort of support. It's not only financial support, obviously, it's this whole package of connections and know-how and tools and kind of connecting you into the ecosystem, but at the same time keeping you agile, keeping you independent, making sure that you focus on, being financially viable, and that you don't get too, quote unquote, too used to receiving this sort of public funding, because, in the end, we're looking for to create these real successful, financially successful startups. So there's always the need to find this sort of balance. And I think this is something that, it's great to find these support mechanisms, such as the ones that we are, offering here. And then also always, not jumping off the airplane without the parachute, but being able to jump off it with the parachute, if I can, use your terminology, Barbara.
Caroline, do you think that like German government entities are still too reluctant when it comes to the whole risk-taking issue and that what we're just discussing? So what is your take? What's your experience?
Well, since it's not my feathers I'm going to adorn myself with, I can totally say that I don't think so, because I mean, the risk, what is the risk that the government would take? It would be a financial risk, because we invest in startups that go bankrupt at some point. And in this concern, we definitely developed really good and I think strong instruments in the last years in order to secure financing. And I'm really astonished how close we are, the Israeli way of supporting startups and the German way of supporting startups, because as Neta said, a very important aspect in all the financing instruments that we have now in Germany is that we divide the risk between a private investor and the government. So all, I would say most of our programs at least are linked to other private investors, and we try to scale this private investment to give a bit more money in order to secure further development of the startups. We also now are investing more and more. We just launched a 10 billion euro called Future Fund, which will further enable our government funds to invest in second stage financing, so to say in financing rounds over 50 million euro. So I think the understanding is there that especially if we combine our forces with the private market, then there's not that much that can be wrong with supporting it, and the chances that and the opportunities that we gain by supporting startups are much higher than the risk that we are taking.
If I may add to your point, we identified, and I think this is, it's not only us, it's kind of a well-known understanding that there are two main, what they call death valleys for startups. And this is something that, as entrepreneurs, you should definitely be aware of, that you're not the only ones facing these challenges. And the two are the first is at an early stage, developing your, doing R&D and developing your technology, especially if it's high risk, it's futuristic, it's a long return on investment because you're dealing with something that doesn't exist yet. It depends if you're tweaking something that does exist or if you're really working on something disruptive. And so this is the first death valley where, many entities such as us and others wanted to step in and offer support and offer funding to help you, transpass this challenge. And then the second death valley is with the commercialization or a POC, actually bringing your product, your development to the market, actually testing it and making sure that it's viable and then scaling it. And this is another point where we actually relatively recently started to step in, because we understand that, it's great to help with R&D, but then if startups get stuck on the next stage and it's hard for them to reach the market, whether it's locally or obviously globally, especially you know, in Israel being such a tiny country, all startups from day one are planning globally, and this is why we're working on these collaborations and helping them reach the European market and other markets. So I think, you know, if you're aware of these challenges and you know that you're stepping into one of these death valleys and you know in advance that, okay, I'm going to need some help and some support to pass this, then, you know, this is very helpful for everyone.
But I also think that, you know, as you said, I mean, every valley of death can be navigated with a good guide, right? And with a support mechanism. And I think, and this is certainly where SPRIN-D sees its gap, so that we are this helping hand that is helping people who are motivated to develop their technology and bring it to market, so that we extend that helping hand to those individuals who are committed to doing that. But having said that, I mean, it's not funding for just furthering more research, right? I mean, there has to be a very, very strong drive, and there has to be a very strong motivation and say, like, I want to see this change the world, right? And that's a mindset question, and that's why we also say that we're really looking at, of course, we're looking at projects, of course, we're looking at deciding technologies, but we're also looking at the people behind that, right? And what really motivates those individuals to embark on that journey, because it is a journey, and it is a long and winding journey, and you don't know where it leads you, and you know, you are really going out there into some sort of unknown territory. But I also think that if you have the mindset of saying, okay, I willingly step out, but I'm also seeking help in doing that and navigating that, then I think all of these things can be bridged and can be tackled.
Let's get a bit into the in detail in terms of the growth instruments you can offer, because we don't have that much time, and maybe we can just look at programs, you know, initiatives. I think, Barbara, maybe you also want to mention the deal with FZ Jülich, which I just read about. I think it's a very nice example. Maybe you want to talk a bit about this.
Yeah, so at the moment, we have 2 financial instruments that we can deploy. We are seeking to enlarge the portfolio of support mechanisms, and we're really counting on people like you, Caroline, to help us getting that accomplished. So please be our ambassador within the ministry, that they look at that with favorable eyes. Yeah, so we have 2 financial instruments at the moment. So we can commission so-called validation studies, but those the amount of money deployed has to stay below the formal European tender threshold, so which is currently at I think 214,000 euros. So we can commission those sort of validation studies, which is around really validating whether a project, whether a proposed technology has this disruptive potential that we're looking for. This is a very agile and very quick weapon in the arsenal, so to speak. We have another instrument that is administratively a little bit more complicated, but which can lead to larger amounts of money being deployed. So SPRIN-D is a wholly owned subsidiary of the state, but we have the right to start companies. So we can start companies which are wholly owned by SPRIN-D, and then the money flows via a loan directly from the Federal Ministry for Research and Innovation into these subsidiaries that are owned by SPRIN-D. And just to give you an idea, the amounts of money that can be deployed. So we have this this project around bringing a new or trialing a new Alzheimer drug, and we are probably going to, well, we are financing a phase 2 clinical trial with that. And everybody who knows how much that costs, we're probably talking about several millions per year over a period of 5 years. So that gives you an idea about what can be mobilized in terms of financial resources if we're going down the path of starting a company.
Caroline, would you like to add? You mentioned Exist, and would you like to add some of the programs some more into detail, what you mentioned at the beginning?
Yeah, let's describe it that way. So the economic ministry, and I would say that the whole government has the idea of really supporting companies from the very first beginning. So Barbara mentioned the Ministry for Research and Innovation that is already supporting and funding research. Then we have Exist and other programs also, depending on the phase of the research, that fund starting or let's say the foundation of a company out of university. So bringing an idea to the market, which I think also institutions like Barbara's institutions, of course, SPRIN-D, but also Fraunhofer institutes and other Helmholtz are supporters of this. So in Germany, we kind of early realized that it's really important not only to have universities that form ideas, but also to bring these ideas to the market. So Exist was already founded in 1988. So this was when the program started. And since then, it's running extremely successfully, giving scholarships to students and professors who want to bring out the idea that they develop within their research. This is, I think, one very important step in this direction. Also, the strong connection between research institutions and startups, as I pointed out in the beginning, we are very much supporting in our hub initiative, where we support this cooperation and support companies that come out of research institutions, connect them with corporates and SMEs as future financiers, but also future clients. So I think this whole connection is really important in order to really develop sustainable solutions and solutions that really can excel in the market. If this was your question.
Neta, how about Israel?
So I'll make the difference between our overall programming, which we have a lot of it. We have 6 divisions with the variety of tools that they offer. Most of that is actually offered internally onto Israeli startups, and from my understanding, you are a German, so they might be less relevant for you. But just in one sentence, we have innovation labs and incubators and a variety of tracks that we offer to startups from very early stage to later stages, and we work with startups on from the technology transfer from academia to the industry, onto early startups, growing startups, and unicorns as well. Specifically speaking about international opportunities that we offer. So we have a few tools. One of those is a bilateral program. We have one with Germany, and in which there is an open call for R&D, and there you would need to have an Israeli partner and a German partner, and you'd want to develop some sort of do some joint R&D together. Again, this is open for all sectors. And there, the way it works is that the Israeli company would receive up to 50% funding, and the German company would receive up to 50% funding, both from its respective authorities. So as Caroline said, we do have this sort of similar approach in that sense. And there is no specific cap on the amount of funding that you can receive. It depends on the size of the project, and it varies substantially. It can be €500,000, €1 million, €1.5 million. It depends. So that is one option that is open. This is according to open calls. We don't have an open call right now, but you can follow up to see when the call is going to be opened. And then we are also a member of what is called the Eureka network, that both Israel and Germany are also part of, and there are a variety of tools offered there for supporting these sorts of collaborations through a program called Eurostars, through clusters, which are these sort of multilateral programs with they could be with partners from a variety of countries and with big industrial partners. You're welcome to read more about it on the Eureka website. So these are kind of the tools that we offer that could be directly relevant for you. And then we have others with research institutes. If you're it depends if you're putting on the hat of a researcher coming from a research institute, or an entrepreneur setting up a startup, an SME. So that also depends. I'm happy to provide more information later on if relevant.
Wonderful. I think we're already running a bit out of time, so I want to give Yoni, have you been collecting some questions from the audience? If not, I think we should just see if our workshop participants do have any questions. Yoni?
We can open it up. There's haven't been in the chat yet, but people are free to.
So if anybody has a question, raise your hand.
Don't rush in all at once.
Robert, I think.
Yeah, hi guys.
Hi.
This is Robert Klaner from the German Aerospace Center in Munich, Oberpfaffenhofen. And just an additional kind of remark and question. So Israel is maybe not only a good place for innovation, but also for, let's say, extensive customer testing, like with the new vaccine, like with Better Place, electromobility. Do you have kind of programs for field testing in Israel for new products for the whole world?
That's a very good question. Actually, it's not one of our main. We at the Israel Innovation Authority, it's not one of our main activities. We kind of view it the opposite way around. We're looking for opportunities for Israeli startups to pilot abroad and not for internationals to pilot in Israel. However, I am happy if you're interested to kind of look it up and see if I could definitely make connections. We don't have a direct funding opportunity related to that, but I could definitely make relevant connections to bodies in Israel, and you could take it on from there. And I can also look up if there is any one of my colleagues who is working on this specifically, not within the Israel Innovation Authority.
Okay, it's more on the market then, not so much in your hands. Okay, thanks.
Gabriela?
Yeah, thank you. My question is may more related for Caroline, related to the EXIST program. So as you know, so we are more scientists and focus or surrounded by scientists also. But for applying for this EXIST program, this research transfer, we have read that it is needed some person with business background, and so it is sometimes not so easily to find persons with us, since we don't really move in that in environment like that. Is it mandatory that when we apply to the program, we already have the person with the business, so the person already for this business with a business background, or can we apply for the program and during this time, if we get the funding, then we can find it, we can still have the chance to find the person?
So I have to confess that I'm not an expert on the exact regulations of EXIST, but I would suggest you, Andrea, maybe you can send my email and you just write to me again about your case, and I will ask the colleague and get back to you on this.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Eberhard.
Yes, maybe I can comment on Gabriela's question a bit, because from a TTO point of view, we at the Alfred Wegener Institute had a quite huge EXIST program for one of our startups, Elise, and they got, I think, at the end, 1.2 million euros within the Elise Forschungstransfer program, and it goes really hand in hand. So the good thing at Elise was that at EXIST was that they could also spend efforts into their validation of the product, and but at the same time already went into the market together with large pilot customers. And then in parallel, they develop their team in terms also of economic expertise. And so it's a quite really powerful program. And I can suggest to spin off interested people to get familiar with this program. Yep.
Andrea, you're muted.
Thank you, Yoni. I think everybody's working on their pitches. There are no more further questions. Okay, so thank you very much.
Actually,
sorry?
I wanted to ask Yoni actually if EIT can play in this field in one way or another.
Definitely. Thanks, Simon. EIT definitely offers interesting growth opportunities, both in terms of finance and knowledge and network. We are going to dedicate a bit of time towards the end of the session today to talk about specific opportunities within EIT. Great.
Thank you, Yoni. So yeah, thank you again, Caroline. Thank you, Barbara. And thank you, Neta. I think, as Caroline mentioned, obviously you all have my email address. I'm happy to connect you with everyone. And also we're working on our very own deal with the Innovation Authority in terms of, in the AI sector. So we're hopefully going to update all of you about this very soon. And I'm going to hand over to Yoni.
Thank you so much. I'm getting off now. If anyone wants to be in touch, happily through Yoni or Andrea.
Thank
good
you,
luck.
Same here. Can always write me. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Okay, everybody. So without further ado, the moment you all been waiting for, we are going to start the Brain Day. We see that we have our amazing experts that already joined us. So big thank you for joining today. What's about to happen? We're finishing the 5-session Mind the Gap commercialization training. We have very interesting and diverse topics that each